Hello, welcome to this reading of the Hebrunes. And we're probably going to pick a deck of cards today too. I'm going to do a pick a card reading with 3 different cards. We're going to choose our deck from our bowl of decks here. There comes one right now. Maybe that's our deck. And we're going to do a 3 Hebrew reading for each of the 3 cards we pull out of that deck. And today our theme is going to be about water. What's flowing right now? Could be a timeless reading, but what's flowing right now in your life? How could things flow a little differently, a little better? And what's moisturizing you right now in the world? Okay, we have the Queers and Queens Tarot. Let me go grab that and I'll be right back. So I'm back with the Queers and Queens Tarot, and it's got a variety of drawings by an artist featuring a bunch of queer and queen type folks. We're going to pull out 3 different cards to choose from today. There's number 1. Let me pull these out of the way. So there's number 1. Card number 2, and there's card number 3. All right. Actually, in this particular reading, I think what I'm going to do is, again, let it flow. And to that end, I'm going to have you choose one of these cards without looking to see what it actually says. And we'll get into the readings. When I put the timestamps down below, you'll have the opportunity to see what your card is. So feel into the cards, see which one is calling to you today, whether it's card number 1, card number 2, card number 3, and I will see you in your separate readings. Okay, card number 1. Those of you who chose this card, I don't actually know what any of these cards are, so we're going to start by flipping it over, finding out what the card is, and we'll set it above. And we have the Page of Pentacles here. The Page of Pentacles. And now Pentacles are an earth sign. They represent the manifestation of things in the body and or in the earth itself, correlating to our material lives, our families, money, jobs, how to feel safe and secure. And each card is accompanied by Hoya flowers in this suit. And the page itself has magnolia flowers around the back of their head. So starting with the Page of Pentacles, it sounds to me like things are flowing in a way that is grounding for you. That the water that's coming in is maybe nurturing the earth on which you are standing or where you're planting whatever it is that you're hoping to grow in this coming season. The Page of Pentacles is about setting off with a new thing, to learn things concretely, but really the newness of the journey. So something new is coming in for you that's having to do with security, either material wealth, physical health, or something along those lines. I'm going to try to arrange these in such a way that we can see them when we zoom in a bit. So for those of you who chose the first card, we'll pull out some Hebrunes as well to get further clarification about the flow as it comes to you this season. At the top of your reading, you have the letter Tav. In the center, the letter Vav. And at the bottom, the letter Aleph. So the top letter in our reading is going to represent what it is that is coming down from the heavens. What is currently happening for you in this situation? And we have the letter Tav. It's the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's a stamp or a seal. Something is coming to an end. The alphabet itself has come to an end, and this is the signature at the end of that creation process. It's also the final letter of the word truth. So there's a stamp on something that is true, and it's also sometimes affiliated with the idea of judgment, because it looks like a little bit like a dalet and a nun together, which spells din, din meaning judgment. Tav also rules over the moon in the sky. So there's an air of mystery about it, and a transformation. As things come to an end, they begin again, just the way the phases of the moon come and go. So where you are right now is some kind of completion. Something is coming to an end. Something is wrapping up and then starting again with some kind of renewal, some kind of reincarnation of some sort. And there's this completion piece where a finality, a judgment has been pronounced for whatever the situation is. And yet we have the Page of Pentacles, so something is starting again. Something that is completing is allowing for this new beginning to come in. The Tav also rules over the day of Friday in the week, which is the final day of active creation in our 7-day creation story. So things are wrapping up right now for you, whatever it is. And the moon itself, went through that those phases that it goes through. So wherever you are in this phase of the moon, know that a completion is coming and that newness will be coming in soon. In the center of our reading, this is the position of what is a challenge or a fear for you right now. And we have the letter Vav. The letter Vav, which is the letter that means and. It's literally the word and in Hebrew, and it's the letter about connection. And it is also the number 6, which corresponds to the 6th day of creation, which is Friday. So we've got Friday in here twice, that thing's almost finished kind of idea. And there's some fear or challenge around this. This is the letter that is about connecting with other people, with yourself, and maybe with the divine. So I think of it in terms of being about relationships mostly. It's the letter that I correspond to the Lover's card in tarot. So there's some kind of difficulty around a relationship, some kind of difficulty with connection that's happening. It's sometimes seen as a taproot, burrowing into the earth so that it can sprout up above. And so with regards to pentacles and the earth itself, there's something that is growing, and maybe we don't really see the root yet. It's underneath the ground. So maybe there's some challenges around that. The letter Vav is also the letter that is affiliated with the sense of hearing. So maybe we're not hearing things quite as we would like, or maybe we're not listening as well as we might. And there's some challenge or fear around this connection piece. Maybe there's some difficulty with communication with another person, or with yourself, or with divinity. Maybe you're not being able to hear the divine. I think it's really interesting that we have the day of Friday here and the number 6 here, again, that 6th day of creation. So something is coming to an end, something is wrapping up, and maybe there's something significant about Friday for you this coming week or so. But whatever it is, there's some fear or concern around connection, and it's something worth looking at. And our outcome letter, the letter that represents the potential completion or outcome of the situation, we have the letter Aleph. And this is the first letter of the alphabet. So really interestingly, we start with the last letter and we begin with the first letter. We begin with the first letter and we end with the last letter. Hold on. I think it's really interesting that we start with the last letter and end with the first letter. So it's, again, the ending, a connection, and a new beginning happening here. And the Aleph is the letter that represents connection of heaven and earth. So that which is above, up here in the upper right corner, that which is below in the lower left corner, and inside another Vav. You can see a connecting piece here. So the outcome of this is oneness. There's the outcome of connecting above and below the heavens and the earth. And because we have the Page of Pentacles here, this newness, this number 1, which is the beginning, the Aleph, is showing up here right at the end of your reading. Something new is coming in. Aleph is also the mother letter of air, so it's about breath and about being able to take in that life force that comes to you from divinity, maybe sitting and listening to your breath in meditation. And this whole creation element of using air and wind and breath to start something new. The letter Aleph is the number 1, but if it's spelled with a different vowel, it becomes Aleph, which means 1000. So it has this connotation of unity within multiplicity and multiplicity within unity as well. So there's something about the oneness and the manyness of things coming together here in the center, in this connecting piece, connecting the divine with the human. Aleph is the first letter of the name El, which means God, El Elyon, Elohim, Adonai. Many of the names of God begin with Aleph, but the word Adam, Adamah, human, and mud also begin with Aleph. So again, that connection between what's above and what's below, but heaven and earth, is a balancing here that happens. So for those of you who chose the Page of Pentacles, what I'm seeing is something is coming to an end. There's a stamp or a seal, a final judgment on this, that the end of creation is here with the day of Friday. We have the Vav representing connection, which is a challenge or a fear in our situation, also representing the day of Friday. And we have the letter Aleph, the Aleph, which is oneness and connection of above and below, heaven and earth. A new beginning coming in, air, breath. And the spring in time, if you're thinking about time, we've got Friday, and spring, the springtime, that liminal space between the winter and the summer, between the wet and the hot. So in terms of how we're transitioning from the wet season to the dry season and the dry season to the wet season, there's some kind of connection that's happening here. So the flow is going, ending, concern with connection, and beginning again. And I think that's really fascinating that you've got this ending and the new beginning, and that it's grounded in this connection piece. So for those of you who chose Page of Pentacles today, this has been your reading. I hope you find your way forward in the flow, and that we'll see you here next time. Hello, card number 2. I have not looked at these cards, so I don't actually know what they are. Let's take a look together and see what you have today. And we have the Knight of Wands. This is our Knight of Wands. And wands are all about fire, inspiration, aspiration. And the knight is the one who is charging forward with that fiery wand off into adventure. Really taking some momentum to begin the quest, whatever it might be. In this particular deck, the wands are represented by a cinnamon stick, which I love in this card. And the Knight of Wands specifically is known as the player, and they have the flower rue behind their head here. Wands represent fire and correlate to creativity, determination, and strength of spirit. So I love that we've got some herbs and spices here, spiciness coming up with the Knight of Wands charging off with inspiration and fire toward whatever is coming next. So our water may be tempered by fire in this case, and our flow may be impacted by that inspiration that's coming in from the knight, the player here. So we're going to pull out 3 Hebrunes and see what comes up in addition to this. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Chet. In the center, we have the letter Kaf. And at the bottom, we have the letter Zayin. So in these 3 Hebrew readings, we have the current situation, our fear or challenge, and the potential outcome given the current circumstances. So starting at the top, having the letter Chet, and the letter Chet is the first letter of the word Chai, meaning life. And it's also the first letter of the word choshek, meaning darkness. So there's this balance between what is giving us life and the dark shadows of that. And I love that with the Knight of Wands here, lighting things up, igniting the situation so we can see what's going on in life. Chet is also about contracts and covenants. You can see it looks a little bit like a chuppah, a marriage canopy. So contracts and connections between people, between oneself and the divine, and between oneself and oneself as well. So whatever contracts and covenants that you've got coming up are here in the reading with this inspiration to say, remember why we started the thing that we started to do. Why are we setting off on this journey? What is it we've agreed to do? The chet is also the foundation of speech. So maybe we're needing right now to say what it is we'd like to create, we'd like to see in the world. And also because we have the number 8 affiliated with the chet, there's this infinity loop that goes with that. So the idea of the infinite, the idea of the 7 days of creation have come to an end, and now we're on day 8, which is the first step into infinity. And that's what the Knight of Wands is doing. It's setting off on this journey toward the infinite with inspiration. And because it's the number 8, it has this connotation and affiliation with all things 8 in Torah and in tradition. So the 8th day of a child's life is when a naming ceremony or a circumcision takes place. And with regards to wand, sometimes the wand is seen as a phallic symbol. So maybe there's some kind of contract, again, that's being made with the divine. Also, the 8 lights of fire that happen with the Hanukkah lights, which is a ceremony of rededication. And the wands, of course, are also fire. So 8 lights of fire that can go with the chet and rededication, a contract toward commitment to the divine. And as I said, it has to do with darkness and balancing that fire with the darkness, using the fire to light up the darkness to see our way forward. So that's what's up right now. Something stepping off into the infinite, stepping off into a commitment that one has made. In the center of our reading, we have the letter Kaf. And Kaf is representative of the palm of a hand. So it can have to do with lifting something up, giving and receiving, or being sheltered over. And anything one can do with the palm of the hand, but also something that can cover over like the top of the head. So it's the first letter of the word keter, which means crown. Also kippah, which is like a little hat that you might wear. And it is also seen as sometimes the hand or the wings of the Shekhinah who are protecting us from the sun or the rain or whatever else hailstorms might come. And it's in the position of what's a fear or a challenge here. And because it's the giving and receiving piece, I'm guessing that it has to do with being aware of not giving more than you have available and not being afraid to ask for what you need. That there's a balance here between wealth and poverty and power. Not wielding too much power and not letting someone oppress you or push you down with their palm of their hand. The Kaf is also representative of the sun in the sky. So the sun is shining on us and it can be very life-giving, and it is the biggest fire we have in our world, but it can also be kind of oppressive. So maybe there's a lot of fire. We need to get some of that shelter that's coming to us from the divine. And it's all about power. So maybe there's an imbalance in a power dynamic you need to be aware of. Either you've got too much power or somebody is trying to oppress you with their power. So that may be the fear or challenge here, some kind of power thing, some kind of giving and receiving issue that you are wanting to remain in control of your wealth, that you're wanting to be able to be generous but not become impoverished. So as you charge off into whatever adventure you're on, be aware of that give and take that comes with the Kaf. And don't be afraid of it, but do be aware that you don't want to wield so much power that you are out of balance, let's say, or be subjected to somebody else's oppression. in this situation. And at the bottom of our reading, in the position of the outcome, we have the Zayin. And the Zayin is that letter that represents a sword or a scepter. So again, about sovereignty here. And this idea of grasping on to our own sovereignty. It is the number 7 in Gematria, so it has this connotation of the one who is magical. It's the 7th day of creation, and it's affiliated with the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence of the divine feminine. So holding on to the scepter, which is, like a wand here. It's like a scepter. It's also like a sword. So using that power that you have, that you've been given, that maybe you're afraid of or challenged with here, but using it for good, being a benevolent dictator, as it were, and coming to whatever it is you're completing here in this creative aspect with the power and with the indwelling presence of the divine that will guide you. It has this connotation with magic. The number 7 is always considered a lucky number, and it is got that extra power that comes with the sovereignty. And the number 7 has so many connotations of, again, the 7 days of creation, but also the 7 times 7 days times 7 weeks of the Omer, which is this counting period where we are waiting for our revelation of Torah after we've come out of a liberation. So as we rush through, rushing forward with our wand toward inspiration, there is this period of time of waiting, but we do need to grasp onto our sovereignty as we're doing so, and hold on to the concept that something is coming to an end, but it gives us the power to move forward, to light up the darkness, to not be afraid of the power, but to not let it get out of balance either. So for those of you who chose the Knight of Wands, we're talking about using your inherent energy and power to drive forward, light the way, go with the flow, but also be aware of some kind of constraint here with regards to power and holding on to that without letting it become out of control. So use your fire wisely as you charge off into this new adventure, whatever it might be. And I will look forward to seeing you here next time. Thanks for listening. Hello, card number 3. For those of you who chose this in the Queers and Queens deck, I haven't looked at it yet, so I don't know what it is. Let's find out together. We have the King of Cups. And there they are, the King of Cups, which is all about water and emotion and being the sovereign of your emotional state, being not so much in control, but just having that majesty that comes with emotional self and being comfortable and familiar with it. The cups represent water and emotions and how we connect with others. Each cup is accompanied by a water lily. And the King of Cups, who's known as the surfer, also has the rue behind their head, which is a very powerful herb. Yeah, so the King of Cups is the sovereign of this emotional state. And we'll set the king up here to watch over our reading. And let's pull out some Hebrunes also to see what other messages we have about your going with the flow right now. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Beit. In the center, we have the letter Nun. And at the bottom, we have the letter Yud. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is that the word that we're spelling here with these letters is Beni, which Beni means basically my son or my child, which is interesting. But it also means masonry, which is interesting. So it's about building blocks. And the letters, the way they were set up here with the 3 Hebrew reading is we've got what is the current state, what is our fear or challenge, and what is the outcome here. And the Beit is the letter that represents a house or a home. It's the second letter of the Aleph Bet, and it sort of looks like a floor plan of a house. It's about home, so you can think of it as a building, but I also think of it in a lot of terms of our bodies, like where do we live? We live in our bodies, or the world, we live on this planet. And it has the binary transformation of life and death within it. So in the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, each of the letters has a foundation or a binary transformation, and Beit is affiliated with life and death. And so house, home, the dwelling place of our soul. It's the first letter of Torah, even though it's the second letter of the Aleph Bet. So the second becoming the first in some cases. And it is the letter that's affiliated with the day of Shabbat, so rest. It is affiliated with the planet Saturn in the sky, the mouth in the body. So the Beit here is where we are. This is home. We are at home. We're at home in our watery space. We're at home in our sovereignty. We're at home as the child, or with our child, or as the child of the divine. And also in building what we have coming with this idea of masonry. Fascinating. So where we are right now is at home. We are comfortable in our home space, in our bodies, in our world. And the second letter is the fear or challenge in our situation. And we have the letter Nun, which begins the word Ne'aman, meaning humbleness or humility. And it looks a little bit like somebody who's kneeling down or bending over. And they are humbling themselves. So the Nun here in the center, in the position of a fear or a challenge, is that maybe we're a little afraid of being humbled. We're afraid of we're challenged with our humility, finding humility in our situation. And Nun is also the first letter of the word Nes, which means miracle. So maybe we are concerned about the miracle not happening, whatever it is that we're hoping will happen, that there is a challenge around accepting the miracles that are coming to us right now. The Nun is the foundation of locomotion also. So something starting out slowly and then building up momentum and speed as it goes. And so there's some challenges here. There's some fears or challenges around starting out slowly, moving forward, being humble as we wait for the miracle to happen, and remaining faithful. It's a letter that's affiliated with loyalty and faithfulness. So maybe we're having some difficulty with loyalty, either with ourselves or with somebody else being loyal to us. It's affiliated with the stomach in the body, so maybe there's a stomach issue as well. Maybe we're feeling something in our stomach, something isn't right in our gut right now, that we're not feeling, that there's something that's a little bit off. So maybe time to take some moments to sit in humility, to find our hermit space where we can meditate on that. And that may be a little bit of a difficulty right now. In the position of the outcome letter in our reading, we have the letter Yud. And the letter Yud is the smallest of all the letters. It's sometimes seen as a seed or a sperm. It's got all the potential within it. It's this one point that is like an atom or the building blocks of the universe, which is great for the B'ni, meaning masonry, meaning building materials. So there's this foundation point here that's saying in the end of whatever our situation is here, we will have the building blocks to make the thing we need to make, that we'll be able to use all of these points. It will have the seed, the potential for creating what it is we'd like to create in the world. It's the number 10 in Gematria, so it's got that number 1 with the ultimate manifestation being 10. And so it corresponds to the 10 divine emanations, the 10 Sephirot, which are represented in the Kabbalistic tree of life, where the divine has these components that start out at the top in the crown in the heavens and then cascade down into the earth like a waterfall. And also the 10 Commandments, if you want to go there. They're more about directions. And so the combination are both here in the Yud. The Yud is also the first letter of the word Yad, meaning hand. So we use our hands to build. We use our hands to create what we'd like to make into reality. But it is this one point, this one seed, this atom that one is got for the basic building blocks of the universe. And it's the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He, which is this contraction of the verb to be in past, present, and future. So the becoming one. And that is the outcome of our reading, which is beautiful. We start out with our house, where we're comfortable in our house. We find a place where we can discover our humility and wrestle with that in terms of the miracle that can come from it. And then we end up in a place of a seed that's being planted. And the King of Cups has got all the power to nurture that. Is the confidence of the emotional maturity of the sovereign who rules over this suit of emotions. So for those of you who chose the King of Cups, the third card, we have the B'ni, this is my child. I am a child of the divine, and that I have a building job here. I have masonry to complete here. And I love that those connotations are all here within the King of Cups, ruling over and watching over whatever is being built right now in your life. So for those of you who chose King of Cups, this has been your reading. I look forward to seeing you here next time.